Make the most of your Walt Disney World vacation.
The top 6 murals at Disney World. Hi, I'm Herb Leibacher, and welcome to episode number 106 of the World of Walt podcast. Make the most of your Walt Disney World vacation for the week of January 29th, 2017. This is the podcast for Walt Disney World fans, whether you're planning your next trip or just enjoy reliving a little bit of Disney magic. Today, the podcast is sponsored by Ear to Their Travel. If you're planning a trip to any Disney destination, give Phil at Ear to Their Travel a call. Phil is a former Disney cast member, so he really knows how Disney works. He can help you plan all the details of your next vacation at no extra cost to you, while making sure you get the best deal on your trip. You can reach Phil at eartotheirtravel.com. We've done a number of shows recently about the amazing types of art that you can see around the Walt Disney World Resort, including paintings and statues. Today, we're going to continue that series with some of the larger pieces of art, specifically murals. Let's take a look at the top 6 murals at Walt Disney World. To help me explore this topic, I'd like to welcome a Disney fan and art connoisseur, Russ Reeves. Russ, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Herb. Art connoisseur, maybe laying it on a little heavy, especially after we get into our list here. People might question that qualification, but I think I can thank you for that.
It is in the eye of the beholder, just like beauty, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. You're allowed to like art and tell us what you like, so that's what we're going to do today.
Right.
All right, warm-up question for today. What is your favorite moment in Spaceship Earth?
All of the above. Moving on. I love it all. I love everything about it. Probably if I had to pick a favorite moment, it's the medieval monks doing their copy work there and making the illuminated manuscripts. I just think that's a fascinating time in history there when, talk about being a connoisseur of art. I mean, every work of literature was a work of art because, it's painstakingly copied by hand and decorated with these illuminations and, the script work was so wonderful. And so it's a fascinating time in history. It's a fascinating art and science that's depicted there. And then you have the comic relief of the one who's fallen asleep on the job as you kind of go around the curve there. So that's one. I'm a book lover, and so that's probably I have 6,000 books in my personal library. So that really just kind of hits a little sweet spot for me as I go around there.
Wow. I like that scene too because it gives you the lesson that there's never a bad time for a nap. I think that's what I take away from that. So
in the middle of doing your job,
yeah,
just lay the head down on the desk. Yeah,
that's right. Good power nap does you good. So there are a lot of great scenes in Spaceship Earth, and it is hard to pick one because, each one is important in telling the story of communication. The one that I like, though, is when you get to the very top of the attraction and your ride vehicle spins around and there's this great reveal of the planet that we are all journeying on together. I just think when the music comes together with the motion and revealing the planet, I think it's just an inspiring point in Spaceship Earth, and it's one that I really enjoy.
Yeah, that's the climax. Literally, because you're at the top of the thing. But that's what the whole attraction is too, and that's where you finally kind of understand the meaning of the phrase "Spaceship Earth." Is when you get to that point.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful part.
Yep. Good.
And neither one of us chose Foxy Brown.
All right, now, so for folks who may not know, you're going to have to explain who is Foxy Brown.
Foxy Brown is the female computer engineer that you see dressed in her finest platform shoes and 70s attire. It's hard to tell if she's going for a day in the computer lab or a night at the disco, but she's prepared for both. And she's been standing there doing her job faithfully since opening day, I suppose.
So I have to say that my real job is in technology. I've been in a lot of computer rooms, and I have never, ever seen anyone look quite like Foxy Brown in any computer room that I've been in. Not even close.
Yeah, she's making it work. You know, she's ready for whatever comes after her shift ends. She is already prepared.
And it's good to be flexible.
You said favorite moment. You didn't say most unforgettable moment.
That's true. There's a whole other podcast about unforgettable moments there. So, all right. Today, top 6 murals at Disney World. So, Russ, we're over to you for number 1.
Well, some lists go from the sublime to the ridiculous. I'm going to take mine in the opposite order and go from the ridiculous to the sublime. And so my first one is one that unfortunately is not accessible to every guest at Walt Disney World. In fact, only a select category of guests get to view this particular mural. It is at Fort Wilderness. It is near Hoop-de-Doo Review and Trails End, and it is in the men's room. So our female listeners are not able to check this mural out. But the men who wander into that restroom are in for quite a treat when they behold this epic mural that's there awaiting you. This mural makes this one of my favorite restrooms on property, and I can't wait for the day that we do the top 6 restrooms at Walt Disney World. This one will be on my list. So the mural, it's like a picture's worth 1,000 words, so I don't know if I can even come close to describing the picture, but it's basically a bunch of cowboys out in the woods, and some of them appear to be, how shall we say, answering nature's call, while others are getting themselves dressed and so on. And so the idea, I think, is that as you walk into this restroom, you have become part of this scene. You're one of these cowboys, and you're just, kind of there to, do what they're doing. And it really cracks me up every time I see it. And then, talk about being an art connoisseur. Wow. I mean, you've got to think about the guy who gets commissioned to do this painting, right? I want you to paint me a picture of. And he's taken all this in, and he actually puts this together, and it really is a well done piece of art. It's I guess maybe lithographed, is that the right word to use? I'm so not an art connoisseur, but it's on tile.
Yeah.
But it's not a mosaic. It's a painting that's been transferred over onto tile there in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Perfectly matched to its location, and it gives you a little bit of humorous, unexpected magic when you go into this place where you may not be expecting to find something like that.
Yep. So, ladies, I'm sorry you won't be able to see that in person. We'll see if we can hook you up on a picture on the show notes page. So, worldofwalt.com/106.
I will send you a picture to use on this because it needs to be seen. I will tell you that it is quite a daunting thing to pull out a camera and start taking pictures in a men's room, but I risked that so that we could capture this image for the listening audience.
And everyone thanks you. That was a bold move.
We'll see. Fortunately, there was no one else in there at the time.
There you go. That's important to say. It's one of those things where you look at it and you say, wait, what? Wait, is that what I think it is? That is what I think it is. And you have to look at it a couple times like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on there. It's hilarious. It's really funny. And,
it is.
If you stand outside of that restroom, if you're waiting for someone, most of the people who are coming out, most of the gentlemen who are coming out are kind of laughing a little bit and chuckling and speaking about it because it is it may be one of the world's best conversation pieces. It is. Yeah, it's amazing. Good one. Men's room at Trails End. Who would think that we would start our tour of mural art in a restroom? But yes, there it is.
Only go up from here.
And when we're starting pretty high, I would say it's pretty good. So, okay, number 2 is over to me. I'm going to go to the Magic Kingdom. I'm going to Fantasyland, and I'm going to the exterior of Peter Pan's Flight. Now, Peter Pan's Flight is a classic. It's always got a huge line in it, but on the outside of the building that holds Peter Pan is an amazing mural. So the entrance to Peter Pan sort of is opposite of It's a Small World, but an opposite corner of the building or another corner of the building sort of faces over towards the Haunted Mansion. And on that side of the building, there is a map of Neverland. So if you always wondered what Neverland was like, this mural will tell you. So to the west is the Indian Camp, and sort of to the south is Pirates Cove and Crocodile Creek. To the east, you can find the Mermaid Lagoon and Skull Rock. I think the detail that's been put into this mural is really, really great. I think it gives you a hint of what you're going to see in the attraction, especially when the queue used to go past this mural. And there have been times when you could meet Peter Pan, and I think maybe even Wendy too, and get your picture taken in front of this mural. I'm not sure if that happens anymore. But this is a really well done mural in Fantasyland that explains the story of Peter Pan in art form.
Yeah, I love maps. Do you love maps?
I do. They're interesting. Yep.
Yeah. So this one just really, like, I could just stare at this one for a while because I it's everything I love. It's Disney. It's Peter Pan. It's a map, and it's really, it's really beautiful. I love it. I take a picture of it every time I'm there. I have like 50 pictures of it probably, but every time I go past it, I'm like, well, I'm gonna take a picture because maybe I'll get a better picture this time.
I've got a bunch too, and then I started to take close-up pictures of each of the different sections of the map too. So
yeah, I've done that too. I've done that too.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Peter Pan, map of Neverland. That's number 2. Number 3, Russ, back to you.
Well, so we've had to call into the bullpen for a relief pitcher here because I had made up my list. And I was going to just mourn and bemoan the loss of Maelstrom yet again, but I thought, well, we've been there and done that on enough episodes already. Plus, I kind of fell in love with the new Frozen ride when I was there, so I'm over that now. But I was going to say that amazing Maelstrom mural in the Old Norway Pavilion was one of my favorites. And my favorite part of it was the oil rig worker, that guy with the long, flowing locks of red hair and the orange hard hat.
Mm-hmm.
A while back, my wife and I were invited to a Disney costume party. And the rule was you could dress as any Disney character you wanted, and I dressed as that guy from the Norway mural.
And did people have any idea what you were doing?
No. I had to give them the whole backstory. Yeah. I was now unemployed. I was a oil rig worker who had a part-time job as a mural model on the side, but I was unemployed now because the place where I was working had become frozen over. So
that's a story about the stories right there.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I'm not going there. I know I just went there, but I don't want to go there. So let's turn around and talk about a mural that's still present, and it's been there a long time. And this one is in Pinocchio's Village House in Fantasyland, Magic Kingdom. If you've never been into this restaurant before, you really, even if you don't eat there, the food is not spectacular, but the atmosphere in this restaurant is really, really great. And part of that atmosphere is that the walls are covered with these beautiful murals of scenes from the film and lines from the music kind of inscribed across the scenery. So you tour the restaurant, you just, you see one after another of these. I can't think of, off the top of my head, a single character from the Pinocchio film that's not represented somewhere on these murals. Jiminy Cricket is there, and Geppetto is there, and the Blue Fairy is there, and I mean, even the most obscure characters that I could think of, I thought, oh yeah, they're in the murals. Mm-hmm. So they're beautiful, they're vivid, they're colorful, but they're also just a lot of fun. and they really add a lot to the atmosphere. This is a restaurant that doesn't get a lot of attention, and a lot of people don't think to go there, but really there's so much there, even in spite of what I would call a lackluster menu, that makes it an enjoyable place to eat. The murals, the architecture, and the detailed touches in there, plus where else can you go that you have a table with a view of the boats going onto the small world. So don't rule out Pinocchio Village House, and if you go in there, tour the whole place and check out the murals because they're great.
I think you hit it right on the head. So the flatbreads there fall a little flat, I'm afraid, and maybe one of these days the Disney food folks will go in and revamp the menu. But the design of what you see inside of Pinocchio Village House is great. Like you say, the view down into It's a Small World. Where else on the planet can you get something like that? But just all the architecture and the stairs, the upstairs, the balcony, the way the place was designed, and on top of that, all of this amazing art that you can see inside, which showcases the characters from the movie Pinocchio, I think makes it worth checking out. As you might just go check out an art museum, even if you're not going to stop to eat, go check out the art in the Pinocchio Village House.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong at all with just going in there to walk around, to look at it, and appreciate that. The one good thing I will say about the food side of it is that it's one of the shortest waits you'll ever have for a quick service meal in Magic Kingdom. So that in itself is something to appreciate.
Yep, very true. Okay, number 3, Pinocchio Village House. Number 4, back over to me. So we're stuck in Fantasyland for a little while because I'm sticking around there too, and I'm going to go into the entrance queue for Mickey's PhilharMagic. And there is a huge, long mural. As you walk in, you can see it towards the back of the queue area. I don't know how long it is, but it is long, maybe 50 feet or 75 feet. And this mural depicts a flowing staff of music. And on this staff are all kinds of musical instruments in various shades of color. So trumpets and tubas and clarinets and violins. And they all look like they're floating along on the musical staff, which is a great preview for what's about to happen in the show, because so much of the show, there's a lot of flying and moving. So I think the mural itself is impressive for its size. I think it's impressive for its color. I think it's impressive for its foreshadowing and how it tells you a little bit about what's to come in the main attraction ahead.
Yeah, totally agree. Maybe worth mentioning, they're not really murals per se, but the sort of almost attraction posters that are out in the queue a little further out. Those are some of my favorite things to enjoy while I'm waiting in line. Also, just studying those posters.
Yeah, those are a lot of fun. So with different Disney characters, many of which, I guess you don't see all of them in the film, but you see maybe other characters from the films that they represent. So I know that there's a poster with Genie, for example, and it talks about them performing. So those posters are a lot of fun. Yeah,
they are. So a lot of great art there in that area.
Definitely. That was number 4. So number 5, Russ, back to you.
Okay, so number 5, we're going to now leave Fantasyland, at least temporarily, and go over to Epcot to the centerpiece there, Spaceship Earth. And the mural I'm talking about is in the queue just as you enter into the show building. It's predominantly blue, and it's got images from the whole attraction represented. So it really gives you a great job just in a glance or even a prolonged study of this mural of what the whole attraction is all about, because every scene is represented there. It's gone, I think, unchanged. If there's been any changes, I'm not sure what they were. I think it's gone unchanged since opening day. There's not many things that can be said for. But there's so many little, almost hidden details in it that every time I study it, I find things I never saw before. So, unfortunately, nowadays there's usually not much of a standing wait for Spaceship Earth. I shouldn't say unfortunately. It's only unfortunate because you miss that time to study this mural. So maybe let a few folks go ahead of you if the line's moving swiftly, just so you get time to check it out, because it's really, really a neat painting.
You're right. This is a very impressive work of art. And I was thinking the same thing, that when you're at that point in the queue, it tends to pick up a little bit because the loading pace for Spaceship Earth moves at a pretty good clip. So you don't often get a long time to stand there and study the details. But there are a lot of details, and you can see references to the scenes that you're about to encounter. And I think the color palette that they picked for the mural and lots of blue colors is very interesting. It's just a great work of art.
Yeah, and if you haven't ever had a chance just to really study it and kind of get lost in it, you can just Google Spaceship Earth mural, and you'll find a lot of pictures of it. It's one of those things, kind of like the Neverland map. I take a picture of it every time I walk past there. I don't know why, but I do. And but there's apparently a lot of people do that because there's a lot of pictures of it online, and there's some that are really good, really detailed, and you can really check it out well.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, number 5, Spaceship Earth. So number 6, last one over to me. I am not going to go to a park. I am not going to go to a resort, and I'm not going to go to Disney Springs. I'm going to go to an area that a lot of guests don't see, although it is open to the public, but a lot of cast members
There's another
do.
men's room. Are you going to another men's room?
No. This one is an equal opportunity mural, that there are no restrictions on who can see it. It's just that a lot of people don't see it. So I'm going to go to the casting center. So the casting center is where you go if you want to get a job at Walt Disney World. It's right across from Disney Springs. So the original Walt Disney World Casting Center was actually hidden behind the Magic Kingdom, and there used to be a joke that cast members would say if you could actually find where the casting center was, they would hire you because it was so hard to find it. Well, when Michael Eisner came on board as the president of the Walt Disney Company in the mid-'80s, he had plans to do drastic expansions for the property. He added 2 theme parks, he added 2 water parks, he expanded downtown Disney, he added many resorts, and all of this meant that there needed to be a lot more hiring. There needed to be a lot more cast members or employees. So Disney brought in a famous architect that had done other work for the company, Robert A.M. Stern, and Stern was asked to design this new building where Disney would do its hiring, the casting center. And Stern took his inspiration from Doge's Palace in Venice, Italy. This is actually the same building that serves as the inspiration for the buildings you see in the Italy Pavilion at Epcot. So the tall brick tower and the imposing building where there are now shops in the Italy Pavilion are modeled pretty directly after Doge's Palace, and the casting center is sort of indirectly modeled after this Doge's Palace in Venice. So Disney began work on this project for the new casting center kind of the mid-'80s, 87, and it opened up in 89. And what I'm going to do is take you inside the casting center, because I think inside the casting center are some of the best murals that you can see on Disney property, maybe because so few people get a chance to see them. So the location of this building is interesting. It was built right along I-4, which is a main highway cutting through Orlando. And so everybody who drives by Disney property on I-4 can just glance over and see this big building with a big sign out front that says casting. And so they know that if they want to get a job at Disney, that's where they need to go. So it's interesting that the building was placed there. It's got great visibility for people going by, but it also means that one half of the building faces out of Disney property towards I-4 in the real world, and the other half of the building faces into Disney property where everything is beautiful and perfect. So something that was interesting about Doge's Palace in Venice was that it was built with this architectural feature called a bridge of size. So it was a long bridge that connected the interrogation rooms to the palace, and the idea was that when people went from interrogation to prison, they would sigh because they knew they would never get to see the beauties of Venice again. And Stern, maybe in a little dark humor, actually rebuilt into the Disney Casting Center a very similar bridge. It's a ramp. It's about 150 feet tall, and it cuts down through the center of the building. And it cuts the building in half. So as you're walking up this 150-foot long ramp, towards your right, if you were to look out of the building, you would be seeing I-4. You would be facing away from Disney property. And there are murals along that wall that reflect the real world. So there is a mural of Daisy Duck in her car as it's getting towed away by a tow truck. There is a mural of Mickey Mouse getting a ticket by a policeman who looks a lot like Peg Leg Pete. There is a mural of Tweedledee and Tweedledum with flat tires on their car. So all of these terrible things that happen in the real world on highways are reflected on the half of the ramp that faces out towards the I-4 highway. On the other half of the ramp, though, that faces in towards Walt Disney property, you see all of these beautiful, perfect, picturesque murals of great moments of Disney fun. So there is a mural of Huey, Dewey, and Louie having a time of their lives in a teacup. There is a mural of Goofy riding on Big Thunder Mountain. There's even a mural of Walt sort of sitting in a window looking out towards the 1980s version of Spaceship Earth, complete with planters before there were the Leave a Legacy tiles. So there's this contrast on the side of the ramp that looks out towards the real world, where you see all of these terrible things that happen in the real world. And on the opposite side, which faces into Disney property, you see all these perfect, great, fun moments. And so I think this series of murals that Disney has built into the casting center are just amazing. And actually, if you do a search on the internet, it's pretty hard to find these. You might find one or two, but there are at least 6 that I know of, maybe 8. They get kind of smaller as you go up the ramp. So if you visit the show notes page at worldofwalt.com/106, I will put some pictures of these murals from the Disney Casting Center onto the show notes page. Really a lot of fun to check them out.
That's fantastic. I never knew that was there.
Yeah, it's something that's easy to overlook. And the building itself is very architecturally interesting. So it's got that sort of modern twist on ancient Italian architecture. It's got these sort of Disney head cutouts in the top. And one of the greatest features, I think, of the building is when you walk up to the main entry doors, the handles look like faces, and you grab the knob and it looks like a big nose. And so that's how you get in. And then you enter a little rotunda, which has sort of pillars that have Disney characters on top, like you might see in Italian palaces. I read that the idea there is that they want to make job applicants feel a little bit more at ease, because they're reconnecting with the fun of Disney as they enter into this little rotunda. But then you take a left and you head up this palace, and you're getting the story of what is about to come, that there is the real world out there where bad things happen, but you are here to help make that Disney fantasy world happen. And it tells this story and sets you up for your job interview in, I think, a most amazing way.
I can't wait to see the pictures that you're going to post. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I never even thought that that's a place you could just like go walk into and just walk around and take pictures.
Yeah. Well, you might look a little weird because I know I did when I did it, but
oh, okay. Yeah. Hey, I was taking pictures in a men's room. You want to talk about looking weird? So.
The good news is that if you do choose to check out the casting center, you can walk into the rotunda with the Disney characters. You can walk up to almost the top of the ramp, and there's nobody sort of in a reception role up until you get to the very top of the ramp. So it's very easy to explore a big section of this building and not feel too weird, and not have someone sort of stop you or give you the eye on, are you really here for a job interview, or are you just poking around? So it is one of those places that you can go and check out.
Pull the old what time's the 3:00 parade thing?
Yeah. Is this the Wilderness Lodge? Yep. Yeah, so murals are a ton of fun there.
Really well, and it's appropriate too that all the murals depicting the bad stuff faces out toward I-4, because there's a lot of bad stuff to
Yes,
on I-4.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just fun to see the real world depicted with Disney characters. I especially like the one of Daisy Duck in her car getting towed, and she's just got this look on her face, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe my car is broken down. I'm getting towed. It's all those real world things with Disney characters. It's great storytelling.
That's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing your pictures on that. And maybe I need to wander in there next time.
It's worth a look. If you were heading over to Disney Springs and you have a few minutes, it's fun to check out.
Yeah, that's cool.
Good. Okay, today, top 6 murals at Disney World. Number 1, yes, the men's room at Trail's End. Number 2, the Peter Pan queue. Number 3, Pinocchio Village House. Number 4, Mickey's PhilharMagic. Number 5, Spaceship Earth. And number 6, the Disney Casting Center. So, Russ, as always, it was a lot of fun, and I admire your bravery in photography in dangerous places.
Yeah, I was just going to say, join us next time for the top 6 most awkward places to take photographs.
Fortunately, if you wait long enough, you can get that facility yourself, so it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. So, all right.
As always, Russ, thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Today we head out to some old-time music from Spaceship Earth, and yes, we have made it through the list of the top 6 murals at Disney World. Our conversation, however, isn't over. I'd like to hear what you think. You can add to the list and the conversation by visiting the show notes page at worldofwalt.com/106 and check out some of the photographs of the murals we discussed as well. I'd like to thank everyone who's been in touch, and I'd like to invite you to follow me on social media. Facebook.com/worldofwalt and Pinterest.com/worldofwalt. If you liked today's podcast, I would appreciate it if you would spread the word. Tell your friends and your family about it. As always, I would like to end the podcast today by giving you a huge thank you for spending some of your time with me. I'd also like to thank everyone who visits the worldofwalt.com site, where you can read interesting Disney articles and chat with other folks who enjoy Disney in the forums and in the comments sections. By listening here and by visiting the site, you allow me to share the fun of Disney with you, and that is really, really cool. Thank you for being a part of it. So until next time, my friend, may God bless you.
So there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. There's a great